right. We gotta start. I need to
Okay.
know all about this. All
Okay.
right.
Hey.
Hello. Welcome back to the Girls Who Get It podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Julia.
Today, we are talking about astrology.
We pulled our Instagram and let's see, we had 64% of people say that they were into astrology, and we had 36% say that they weren't.
And we
So,
also asked, what sign have you dated that was the best? Or like, what signs do you have the best experience with? And then which signs were the worst that you have ever dated? And I'm excited to talk about this because I am a big astrology person.
yes, you are.
I sure am. That's like the first thing whenever I meet someone, I need to find out when their birthday is.
I don't think I was like that until I met you. I think you like introduced me to it, and now it's my favorite thing to ask people because I believe in like parts of astrology. I think there might be something to it. Not everything is completely 100% accurate, and it wouldn't be, but I think it's very interesting. And I align a lot with my sign's characteristics. So,
Well, and I think what a lot of people don't realize too, like, I think most people think of astrology as like, oh, it's just the 12 signs. And it's like, well, there's not just 12 personality types, but it gets way more complex than that. You really need to know your full birth chart. And, there's your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, you have your Mercury, your Venus.
right.
And it's once you really dive deep into that, it's scary how accurate it can be. And personally, I feel like if you think about it, right, like the moon and gravity affects so much. Like, why? I don't, I also feel like everything is a simulation. So to me, it's really not that crazy to think that, like, there's something to all of this?
I agree. And I think people believe in a lot of different things. So, if I believe in this, then I don't think it's that crazy. I think, like you said, there's so much more to it. And once you do learn your full birth chart, like my sun sign is the one that like people know, right?
Yeah,
So
that's like the main when people are like, what's your sign?
yeah.
You're referring to your sun sign. Yeah,
So my sun sign is Aries, which I think that's I think I'm an Aries. Um,
definitely.
but my rising and my moon,
Especially people who have ever been in a car with you know you're an Aries.
yeah, you could tell. Um, but my rising and my moon sign is Libra, which I think it balances me out. Those are like your main three: sun, rising, moon. And I think once you know even those three, it's like, oh, huh.
It gives a little more like perspective. Yeah, my sun sign is Gemini. My
Yeah.
rising, though, which like they say your rising sign is kind of what people think of you. That's like their first impression when they don't really know you on a really deep level. And I
Mhm.
find that so interesting because my rising is Scorpio, and so many people guess that I am a Scorpio.
I could see that.
Yeah. And then my moon, which that's supposed to be like your more emotional side, your deeper side, is Virgo,
Hmm.
which is also spot on because I am not a super emotional person. And when I am going through something emotional, I get very logical. I'm a pros and cons list kind of person,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to like emotional things. Like I don't know. So
Checks out.
it definitely checks out.
Believe whatever you want. I don't want anyone to be offended by whatever we discussed today because signs maybe are not real and they don't mean anything, or it depends on your sign. I
And
feel like
there's good and bad to all of them. Like, and
worse.
as a Gemini, I think that's probably one of the most hated signs in the zodiac. So
Mm.
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
And whether you believe in it or not, I think that it's still interesting and entertaining and fun. So
I agree. Yeah, I think especially when I like in dating, since I'm dating, and we'll get into this, but I had multiple dates this week. I love to find out what that's like one of the first questions I typically ask just to see. And men typically hate it. They're usually like, that's bullshit. I'm not into that, is usually the response. But I think there's really something to it. So,
I agree. I think I love to like I won't ask someone their birthday right away now. Like if I'm like really trying to get to know somebody, I talk to them a little bit first and then I try to like have an idea in my mind and then I'll ask. And I feel like honestly, like at least 8 out of 10 times I'm right.
you're right.
So it's like there's got to be something to it if
Yeah,
that's the case, you know?
I agree. Some people, and it depends on your other signs in your birth chart, or like if you're on the cusp or whatever. Of course, not every Leo is going to be exactly a Leo, stereotypical Leo, whatever. But it's funny because I work with a lot of men, all ages, just like a lot of men, and I will talk about this all the time with them, and it's they don't usually like it or buy into it, but they'll be interested, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's so Scorpio of you," and they'll be like, "Wait, why?" And then I read some of the characteristics, and they're like, yeah. It's just funny. Like 50-year-old men are like, well, I guess that's true. It's something they never thought about in their life, probably. And I'm just at
Yeah.
work. Oh, when's your birthday?
Yeah,
I bother everybody with it at work. I just find it very interesting.
I do too. Okay, but before we get into that, I really need to hear about these dates. I've been dying.
Oh yeah. So yesterday I had a date planned. Like a couple days in advance, and we were gonna go get some dinner at this place I really like in Albany, and um the guy's really nice, and we talked. He is a Virgo, so I found that out. But then earlier in the day, somebody else had reached out and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be in your area," because he's from Saratoga, which is about a half hour north of me. And he was like, "Do you want to meet for a drink at like 9?" Because he had something going on. And I was like, huh, like, could I? I don't really know. And I was
Did he
talking,
also have another date before that?
no, he said he was playing volleyball. If he had another date, that'd be okay. These were both first dates. And I'm not the type of person to like even talk to multiple people really, but I don't know. Lately I'm like, I'm young. I when I put all my eggs in one basket, I don't know, it hasn't really gone super well for me. So I thought, why not? One of my married coworkers was like, yeah, you should go for it. And he was like, um, rooting for me to do it. So I thought, why not? So I went and I had dinner and a drink with the first man. And he was really bachelor number one. And he was really nice and it was a good time. And then I came home, hung out a little bit, and then went to meet bachelor number two at the bar. And he was nice too. I mean, good conversation. See where it goes. He also offered bachelor number two said he could find me some pretzel M&Ms potentially. So
Nice. Wait, did they discontinue them?
I don't know, but I can't find them anywhere. And I
Oh,
mentioned that, and he was like, "I think I can find him, and if I do, I'll bring him next time." So
okay.
major
So are there
prop.
are there second dates planned?
Not planned, but it was like mentioned, like brought up. Like, oh yeah, next time. Or we should do this again, or whatever you say.
Okay. Are you interested in second dates?
Yes, I am. I don't know what's wrong with me lately. Like, I will be very quick to be like, I don't think we're compatible. Very quick. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's not fair, or it also might be because of something else, but um, I don't know. Second dates, I would be open to second dates.
Yeah,
Because one date isn't always enough to like really feel each other out, or I don't know.
that's true. I feel like there's a lot of pressure too on the first time you meet someone,
Yeah,
especially when you're going into it knowing like, oh, they're gonna be judging me and making all these assumptions and oh,
right. So I'm trying to be better about like being too quick to judge. And yeah, so that was yesterday. I do have another date tomorrow. Um,
oh,
my schedule is jam packed.
look at you. Good.
Mean for that, but I was kind of like, I'm gonna put myself back out there, and I just got on the apps, of course. And then I was like actually using them. And so I was chatting with a couple people and they were all like, "Want to do something?" And I was like, "Whoa, this doesn't usually happen." So I'm
That's nice though.
for it. Meet new people, and if that's all it is meeting new people, then that's fine. I don't no expectations.
Well, and summer is unfortunately starting to kind of come to an end, so you gotta at least get a buddy to go do cute fall things with.
It's almost cuffing season.
Exactly.
I saw a schedule on TikTok, like I can't think of who posted it, but it was like the cuffing season schedule now. You're like scouting talent is what, and it was like timeline, like this date to this date you're scouting, and then this date to this date you're kind of like narrowing it down, and then once you get to like fall you have your cuffed. So I don't have plans to do that, but if it happens that'd be cool. But yeah, busy week for me.
Good. Well, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for both of us.
What do you have planned?
Nothing.
Oh,
But I do have to confess,
oh,
I currently have a house guest of the male variety.
what? Is it a dog?
No, it's a human.
Wait, which one? Which
It
one?
it may or may not be my ex.
I knew it. Where is he?
So he's
Wait,
in the other room.
how did this happen?
Well, um, I don't know. We had been in contact the last couple months or so.
Interesting.
Yeah. There was a recent event that led to us like being in more regular contact.
Okay.
And then yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
He came down to visit, so
For how long?
I don't know.
Oh,
He drove, so it's just to be determined, I guess. But he got here last night.
I I don't know what to say except for that I was talking with my boss today, and he's like a grandfather. He's like late 50s, great guy. But for some reason, an ex, if you can even call him that, of mine came up, and he was like, "What? An ex? Are you going back to an ex?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like I don't know, maybe. Is that bad?" And he was like, "No." So my 50
Oh,
year old boss doesn't, well, 50, 60, he doesn't think it's bad. Not life experience.
yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't know.
Hmm. Well, I can't wait to hear how this develops, if it does.
Yeah, we're gonna just take it a day at a time and see how it goes, and then I'll update.
Can't wait. What's his sign?
Same as mine. In fact, actually, our birth charts are very, very similar.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yep. I know
Um,
it is interesting. And on CoStar, by
mm-hmm.
the way, if you are somewhat interested in astrology and would like to kind of know more, I highly recommend the CoStar app. You can put in all your information, like when you were born, the location, time, etc., and it'll give you your full chart and it'll explain to you like what it all means, and then you can follow your friends and see their charts and like how compatible you guys are, etc. But our things on CoStar are like it's all compatible.
Wow. So for Geminis, what are the most compatible signs? Other Geminis, probably.
I mean, I guess Sagittarius because that's like they're across from us on the circle. They're like our
Hmm.
sister sign. We're also very compatible with other air signs, which are Libra and Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also Leo and Aries.
Yes. I was gonna say that because anytime I look like, or I have looked in the past, most compatible for Aries, it's Gemini. Gemini's always there. Is that the best sign you've dated then? Gemini?
Um, yeah. Well, as far as like serious relationships go, yeah. I mean, because it's hard to say, like, I can't really compare someone that I like casually saw for a few weeks, versus like someone I
Yeah,
lived with for years.
that wouldn't be fair.
But as far as like serious relationships go, yeah, absolutely.
So when we polled people, well, let's see. I guess we'll start with the best, right?
Yeah, let's do the best.
This is going to be different for everybody because depending on your sign, it means, you're compatible with different people. Um, I will say there's a lot of Libra in here for best sign.
Which makes sense because I feel like Libra out of all of them is the most chill. Like there's like the balance, like their little symbol thing is like the scale.
Yeah.
So they try to always like see both sides and just be really like easy to get along with
Yeah.
and just pleasant.
I was gonna say that they seem pretty neutral, and me having two Libra signs, or like Moon in Libra and or is that right?
Rising, yeah, rising and moon.
Yeah, I feel like it really balances me out because Aries can be pretty intense. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and Libra is also our air sign, so like they're just very chill, like go with the flow.
yeah. Um,
Libras also really like nice things. They like to look nice and be like, which I think totally makes sense for you.
I I could, yeah, I could see that. Um, Somebody said Leo, Scorpios, and Aries, and I almost said, oh my gosh, all the fire signs. But Scorpio is not a
Is
fire sign.
water.
I always think it's a fire sign. They're like they should be swapped with.
No, I think that's like a big misunderstanding that people have. Scorpio is like they can be really moody, but like they put like a really big wall up and they come off as like badass, like I don't care, da da da. But like deep down, like they will hold the longest grudge.
Oh, that's so true.
They like do not want to open up or tell you, like they can be very secretive
Mm,
and like yeah. I think Scorpios are moody. Jeffree Star is a Scorpio.
that makes so much sense.
And that I think gives you everything you need to know.
Shout out to my friend Anthony, who was on season one. He is a Scorpio.
I love
Um,
Scorpios.
I have a love-hate relationship with Scorpios. I feel like we clash a little bit.
Yeah.
We can clash a little bit. Scorpios, not like me and Anthony, but as a Scorpio. He. Um, this person says Leo, best boyfriend turned amazing husband. That's amazing.
I love a Leo. They're like very fun. They also like to be the life of the party and like they love attention.
Leo, I was when I explain this to my coworkers, I feel like fire signs are kind of like I don't want to say self-centered, but like kind of like self-involved, I guess, but in different ways. Like I would say as an Aries, I feel like I'm self-aware and I do a lot of things for myself to like I'm a little selfish, especially at this age. Like I look out for myself. But like Leo, they usually like to be center of attention
Mm-hmm.
more than just like self-involved. But that's a stereotype. This one says maybe another water sign like myself, but my husband is for sure my soulmate and he's a fire sign. So fire and water. Hmm,
Good balance. That makes sense.
can work. Really there's like every sign in here, but that's just because it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
See a few cancers, which
Yes.
for me, I have not had a lot of luck with cancer men. I this earlier in the year, like I want to say maybe May, I had two encounters with cancer men and they were not the best. So they would fall under my worst sign to date, I think. So
Yeah, let's see what people said for their worst. I'm seeing a lot of Virgo and Gemini.
no way.
Um,
Gemini with a throwing up emoji.
a lot of Virgo, which is very funny. I feel personally attacked.
I like this one. Aries, sex great, but everything else horrible.
Wow, okay. I can relate to that exactly. Did I write this?
No.
I saw a man once, briefly. It didn't last very long, maybe like a month, but he was an Aries and exactly what that comment said. Fantastic. But everything else,
Not
he
great.
was like, when we met on the apps and like when we first met up, he was very adamant, like, I do not want a relationship. I don't want anything serious. I just got
Wow.
out of a long relationship. I don't want it. I don't want it. And I was like, okay, that's perfectly fine. Like, that's not what I was looking for right now either. And especially like with him, like he wasn't necessarily someone that I could have saw myself like dating seriously anyway. So I was like, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing someone else at the same time because, like, why not? We never said we were exclusive. You, in fact, kept saying you didn't want to be. And he, like, got really weird and, like, butthurt about it. And then started, like, acting, like, kind of mean and, like, aggressive towards me.
Hmm.
And it was very strange. And I was like, yeah, not into this. Sorry. Bye bye. It's like as soon as he, I think, felt like he wasn't the one in control of the situation, he did not like that.
That makes sense.
So that was super weird.
I'm seeing a lot of Leo men.
Hmm.
Uh,
I'm surprised only two people said Taurus for their worst. I
wow.
personally, I, no offense if you are a Taurus, but I just don't fuck with them. Like, I mean, listen, we can be cool. It's
Sure.
not like I'm gonna be like, you're a Taurus, I fucking hate you. But like
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I naturally like click with Taurus. Like, I don't know.
You don't vibe.
No, yeah, we don't.
I don't really know a lot of Taurus men at least.
They can be very like stubborn and also like homebodies and yeah, I don't know. And also there was this guy that was like I had met him like through mutual friends and he was interested in me. I wasn't interested back like that. I don't know. But he was a Taurus and he was trying to tell me that, oh, Gemini and Taurus are really compatible. And I was like, bitch, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. No, they are not. In
No,
fact, it's quite the opposite. So goodbye.
honestly, I don't like who is Taurus compatible with?
Um, I think they're really compatible with Scorpios.
Huh,
I think
interesting.
so. I might be wrong on that. I'm not an expert,
No, yeah, we're not experts here. We're just sharing our
but
personal
I'm but I'm
experience.
pretty sure.
Okay, that I could kind of see that. Yeah, like I said, my least compatible, which is weird because my friend Cass, we all know her. She's a Cancer. But when it comes to Cancer men, like
Cancer women are very different, especially when they're just your friends, because cancers are like very emotional and Cancer
mhm,
women are like very motherly a lot of the times and like loving. Like Khloe Kardashian is a Cancer. And I
okay.
feel like that makes like she's always the one that's like,
She wants to
you
like take
know, take care of everybody. Yeah, exactly. But my first long-term boyfriend was a Cancer actually, and we were not compatible for that exact reason. Like he
wow.
was just very moody and emotional, and I feel like he needed someone that was going to be more like tender and sweet and like, oh, like if he was like something was bothering him, someone that would be like, oh, it's okay, you know? And that is not me. I am very, especially because of my Virgo moon, like I'm very, like I can be harsh and I'm very like, just get over it. Like I'm a tough love kind of person. Like, what are you so upset for? Like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, let's move on.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't know what his moon sign was, though. I'd be curious to know.
You
But
have to look it up. Remember his birthday? Or
I do, but I don't know what
his
time
birth
and
certificate.
all of that. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think for the same reason, like I can be the same way, like kind of harsh. And my way of flirting is like by making fun of my partner. And
So
my
Aries.
actually my ex-boyfriend was a Gemini and he didn't like that. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to like do it. It's just like I don't know. It's my nature. So I remember a couple
Interesting.
times he was like, "Why are you laughing at me?" Or like he didn't get it.
Did you
But
ever date a Capricorn?
not that I know of. My sisters are Capricorn.
Because I was gonna say Capricorns are kind of the same way
Really?
with that type of like sense of you. Like they can be kind of not mean, but you know what I mean. Like they're
Yeah.
not afraid to like say it how it is, and like that's also how they flirt is like
Yeah. Um, Cancer men. Yeah. So in May, I had these are all apps because that's just what I do. So I'm comfortable dating. We can talk about it another time, but I was gonna go out with this guy that I was talking to. We had talked about getting ice cream. It was a Saturday. I kind of thought we had like plans in place, and I guess there was a miscommunication because he was like, I was kind of waiting to hear from him to see like when he wanted to go, and he was like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I I'm just hanging out at home. Like, what are you up to?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm at my parents for dinner." And I said we were just gonna get ice cream, which I had to pick. Um, he was like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "We can get drinks or do ice cream or something." And he was like, "You pick whatever you want." And I was like, "Okay, we can go get ice cream." And I wanted to go to one specific place that I've heard great things about. And so I mentioned that, and he was like, great. So Saturday night rolls around. I thought we had plans. He obviously didn't. And then he was just kind of like, okay, let's go. After I'm done with dinner, like, we can go. So great. He didn't say time, but time's passing and it's like 8 o'clock. And I think, I don't know what time this place closes. I look it up, they close at 10. I don't really hear from him. It's 9 o'clock now. I'm thinking I'm canceling because what the hell? And then
Yeah.
it's 30 and I'm like, hey, why don't we try another time? I think they close soon. I don't want to go and not have enough time or go right when they're closing and be annoying. So maybe another time. And he was like, oh, sorry. I'm just leaving my parents, whatever. And this is like our first day talking, so I didn't take it too seriously. I was just kind of like, whatever. Figured he wasn't that interested. Next day, I didn't respond because I was like, whatever. He messaged me later in the day and goes, really? Question mark. And I was like, I had it up to here with men at that point. So I was like, yeah, really. I thought we had plans. I was ready to go. I actually even did my makeup. The only thing I didn't do was change. I was still in like sweats. I was all ready to go, thought we had plans. I guess it was miscommunication, but I'm not wanting to put in effort to do any of this if you don't if you're not interested. And he was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You act like we've been talking for months. And like this whole paragraph where he's like freaking out and like telling me I'm crazy. And I thought, okay, insane. And I said, I guess it was just a miscommunication. Sorry, like whatever. And then he got normal. Like, oh, okay. Maybe we can try this again another time, whatever. I was like, all right. Well, then we're texting back and forth, and there's a few instances. He said something about my job where I told him where I worked, and he was like, oh, my ex works there. She was a he called my job an insane red flag because his ex worked there and she was quote unquote an insane liberal. And I was like, okay, your views are your views. I work with a lot of people with a lot of different views. Like, you don't work there respectfully, you don't really know.
Why would you even say that though? Like, I just don't. That's
I don't
so
know.
stupid.
I think my response was, oh, I didn't know having a good job could be an insane red flag. And he was like, oh, no, 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 I didn't mean it like that. And I'm sorry. So he would say these things and then backtrack and be like, oh, try to correct himself.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of like the second strike. Then we had not even met yet. We were probably talking 3 or 4 days, did not talk about being exclusive at all. Hey, you're the only one I'm talking to. Nothing like that. Actually, in fact, he blew me off for what I thought was going to be our first date. So I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, he's so interested and we're exclusive. So I get asked out on another date and I go. And so I wasn't really responding to him because I was with someone else and not on my phone. I check my phone after my date and he was like, I hope you're having a good time on your date. He just assumed I was on a date. And he was right.
I
So I
mean,
was
yeah.
so I was like, we could talk about it if you want. Like, I was on a date. I got asked on a date and I went. He hadn't like asked me on a date. So I was like, if you asked me on a date, we could do that. But like we hadn't even met yet and he was blowing up my phone paragraphs. I would never do that to you. I would never disrespect you like that. I would blah blah blah, blah, like craziness. And we've never met in person. But then he would switch and be like, I'm sorry, I just really like you and I'm really interested. And the second we matched, I stopped talking to everybody else and blah 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 blah.
That is so fucking creepy and weird.
I I cried because I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't know what to make of it at all. So at that point, I was kind of like, yeah, no, this is not gonna happen. But we already had like made some plans for Friday, and it was like a day away. I should have canceled, but I did go, and he bought me ice cream, and we're sitting talking. Conversation's fine. He's not really looking at me. I don't feel that he's like interested. He keeps making weird comments like, "Oh, just an hour long date. Oh, what are you doing after this? We could have got dinner, but he didn't ask me to dinner." I had to decide to get ice cream and tell him, what we were gonna do because he wouldn't. So I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he was like, "What, are you gonna go home and like hang out with your cat?" Because he knew I had Puff, and I was like, "That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Like, goodbye."
What a fucking dick.
I didn't want to see him again, really. So the next day, and like a lot of it I could tell was insecurity, on his part, because the next day was like, "You haven't talked to me much since we met." And I was like, "Last night? When we met last night for the first time?" And I was like responding to his Snapchats. It's not like I was ignoring him. And then I just thought, no, this is not gonna work for me. We met one time and there's several red flags.
Yeah.
Misunderstandings, just not. If it was that
I
hard.
I'm scared that he's gonna like tie you up in his basement.
Yeah. So I was like, I forget how I started the conversation, but really I was like, I don't think I'm ready for, I don't know what, I don't honestly forget what I said, but it turned into the whole same thing where he was like going off and, if you didn't like me, just going off on me for no real reason. And I said, "I'm sorry. I just don't think it's a good fit." And at the end, he said, "Could have given you the world."
Oh my God. That's so fucking creepy. That it's giving like if I can't have you, nobody can.
It was a lot. It was like, and he, even that day when we were texting, and I was like, this isn't, and I always try to be upfront. Like, I'm not going to ghost somebody. I'm going to say, "Hey, sorry. I just don't think this is," I'm going to say something.
Not
Um,
feeling it. Yeah.
so even then, when I was like, "I'm good," he he went back and tried to fix it and be like, "Oh no, what, I think we could maybe if we just," I was like, "What? You want to work on things?" And we met one time. This
I
is a
wonder
week.
how many women have this man blocked.
I would love to know. I'm part of one of those Facebook groups. Are we dating the same guy? I
Hmm.
wanted to post him, but he unmatched me before I could get a picture and like before I could even think of it really.
Wait, we need to do that for an episode. Like go through and read some of those threads.
Yes.
Because I find that fascinating.
It is fascinating and like pretty heartbreaking when you see someone on there. Some of them are like funny and some are like, "Oh, I saw someone on there once." And
Oof.
um so yeah, that was my first encounter with a cancer man. And he was really intense and really just emotional, like in one kind of way. And
I feel
then
like there's some kind of complex happening there, though. I don't think it's just that he's a cancer. Like he
no, no,
sounds like there's actually something wrong with him.
there's something wrong. I think
What
he
was
was,
he like in person?
it felt to me like he didn't care like if I was there or not. He was just kind of like really nonchalant, really like, yeah, whatever. And then I told
Interesting.
him, I was like, "You didn't really look at me and you didn't," he was like, "So I was nervous and whatever."
Yeah. Was he attractive?
To some people, I'm
Mm,
sure. He was very tall, which is what drew me in. I'm ashamed to say. Anyway,
gotcha.
yeah, that was one experience. And then, kind of immediately after that, I met somebody and he was really sweet. Like, really, really nice. He was younger. which I didn't think I had a problem with. And I don't want to say I have a problem with it, but like he had a job, he knew what he wanted, but like basically what I've been looking for. Um, but he was a little more sensitive, and I'm very much not, and so that worried me. And he also, and this was nice at first, but then it got kind of like strange. He would Google, it was like obviously Googled questions, like 50 questions to ask your partner or something like that, which is
Yeah.
like, appreciate the effort to get to know me and everything, but we had talked before and been like, you don't want to text too much because then when you're out on a date, you don't have like a ton to talk about maybe, and when you're first getting to know somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, so it would be like all day long. He would be asking me these questions. And at first I was like, sweet. Then I kind of was concerned. Um, and then we met up for a walk, and it was nice. I think we hugged goodbye. I didn't get any kind of, oh, we should do it again or anything. We just like, hey, okay, cool, see you later, nice to meet you. He was driving behind me. We hadn't even like got out of the park that we were at, and he was like, what are you doing later? I was like, oh, uh, I mean nothing, I don't think. And he was like, you
Interesting.
want dinner? And I thought, like,
Why didn't he ask you that before you got in your car to drive away?
that was my thought. I was like, we just were together. Like, you're behind me in your truck. Like, I can see you. But sure, like, why not? So this is like date part one, date part two, same day. First time meeting him, same day. I don't know what to consider it. I wouldn't consider it two dates because it was like a couple hours apart. Um, but we're at dinner and we're talking, and he's like kind of being quiet. So I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what to do. So I was just kind of eating. And he was like, I'm not being quiet. It's just anytime I look at you, I forget what I was gonna say. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
You're just
Because
so intimidatingly beautiful.
I know, look at me, I know. But I don't know how to respond to really any compliment, but especially things like that. I was like, aw, you're
Also,
sweet.
that's kind of awkward. Like, that's just, yeah.
It was a little,
Yeah.
but he was so nice, and he like had a lot of the qualities I was looking for. But as it kind of went on, he would say a lot of these things where I just didn't like, it wasn't really my, it made me a little uncomfortable, which I hate saying because he was being nice, but me being me and having a different way of like showing affection or whatever,
Right.
it made me uncomfortable. So he kind of came on pretty strong. He talked a lot about finding his person, like so much so it was like a lot, and it was so much that I thought it didn't matter if his person, like, I don't think he cared if it was me or someone else. He just wanted someone to like commit to, and it didn't matter
Like
if they were.
women that are just so obsessed with like having a wedding and getting married that it's like, do you even care about who you're marrying?
That is exactly what I was getting. And I was like, I don't want to lead him on and be, because I do want certain things, but I want it to be right. I don't want it just because two people want similar things does not mean they should have it together.
Right.
22, and I was like, I don't really know if this is right. And he would just say a lot of really, I don't want to say it's cheesy because he was being sweet, but like to me personally, I was like, this is a lot. And I, like I said, didn't know how to respond. So one day I told him that, and he was like, it's okay, like you'll get used to it. And I was like, no, I just don't want you to say these things to me so much. Like it felt overwhelming. And then I wasn't really feeling well, and I asked him if we could reschedule our second or third, or I don't know, second date. And he was like, yeah. And then he was asking me like a few questions. And I was like, okay, nothing new here, all these questions. And he goes, don't you want to know why I was asking you those weird questions earlier? And I was like, sure. He made me a gift basket, like a get well basket, which is really sweet. And I was like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't take this. Yeah.
Wow.
Like talking about it, I feel really bad because he didn't do anything wrong. It just, at the end of the day, was a compatibility issue.
It's just a lot. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, if you were dating this person for a while and they
Mm-hmm.
did that, like, got made, put together this basket, so fucking thoughtful, so
Yeah.
sweet,
The thing,
amazing. But the fact that you don't know him, like, that's a lot.
it was a lot. And
That's
he
a
would say,
lot.
yeah. And he would say like really kind of emotional, I don't want to say, maybe not emotional, just like sentimental things. And I'm like, I met you one time. Like, I don't.
Yeah, it's just, it's kind of, it's giving creepy because of how fast it is. And I'm sure there's people out there that would love that and are looking for
Yes.
something like that. But yeah, no, I'm the same way as you. Like, I'm like, that stuff would scare me away. I'd be like, ooh, that's a
For
lot.
me, yeah, for me, it was too much too soon. And I told him that I said, I think am feeling a little overwhelmed. Like, I appreciate what you're doing. And then, we stopped talking.
Good for you, though, for not ghosting and for like, you know, being honest and direct and just
It sucks to be ghosted. I've been ghosted many times. And I would rather just hear why because a lot like you sit there and wonder like, oh, what did I do wrong or whatever. And a lot of the time it's like it had nothing to do with him. So I wasn't going to just ignore him and let him think that it was his fault. It was really more about like me being overwhelmed and not being maybe the right fit.
exactly.
He did
Yeah,
come on strong though. He did come on strong. But I think cancer men and me romantically are not a fit.
same.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like see someone sign like, "Oh, he's a cancer." No. I'm not going to take it that far, but I'm not going to lie.
I do. I do. I'm like, oh, tread lightly.
I would think about it a little harder. I'm not, yeah. I'd be like,
Yeah.
huh, I don't know about this, but I'm not going to write you off just yet.
Wait, let's read our compatibility on CoStar.
We have each other, so doesn't it tell you like
Yeah.
Liam is your
So we're very compatible when it comes to our basic identities, our intellect and communication, our love and pleasure, and our sense of responsibility. But we're
wow.
kind of meh with moods and emotions, sex and aggression, and philosophies of life. But there's nothing that we're like incompatible on.
Oh, interesting.
So, like we said, my sun's Gemini, yours is Aries. The sun determines your ego, identity, and role in life. It's the core of who you are and is the sign you're most likely to already know. My sun is in Gemini, meaning I'm fundamentally dynamic, quick witted, eclectic, and curious. Fascinated by everything, my childlike energy is often scattered in a million directions. On a social level, this may come off as gossipy or flaky,
Hmm.
which is very true. I I I love to gossip. I at work, I am the gossip. Um Julia's sun is in Aries, meaning she's fundamentally assertive and persistent and courageous. Naturally competitive and fiercely independent, she pushes things forward with energy and enthusiasm and perseverance through anything. She needs to learn to understand other people as complex wholes. This is a relationship that generates ideas. You both have an abundance of energy to direct towards your many passions. Your cognitive energy is channeled into thinking and communication, while they are more inclined to act. Together, you make a particularly outgoing duo, the life of any good party. Did this just say that we should do a podcast together?
I think it said we should have a podcast together. So weird.
My moon is in Virgo. Your moon is in Libra. The moon rules your emotions, moods, and feelings. This is likely the sign you most think of yourself as, since it reflects your personality when you're alone or deeply comfortable. My moon is in Virgo, meaning my emotional self is analytical, responsible, and pacifying. A bundle of nerves, I struggle with a need to be pure that may come out in self sacrificing or nitpicky tendencies. Julia's moon is in Libra, meaning her emotional self is balanced, harmonious, sees both sides of every situation, indecisive, relationship oriented, and desperate to please. She can be a little self obsessed, but tends to hide her feelings and needs. You have to work together. You have to work to understand each other's moods and emotions.
Hmm. I would say that's pretty accurate. My moon being in Libra is accurate.
Interesting. And then our Mercury, that's the sign of communication. Mercury determines how you communicate, talk, think, and process information. It also indicates how you learn. It's in the mind's planet. It is the mind's planet. My Mercury's in Gemini, meaning my intellect is dynamic, quick-witted, and eclectic. I'm deeply curious about everything, and my energy is often scattered in a million directions. The way I speak is articulate and witty, but I'm likely to talk behind people's backs. Julia's Mercury is in Aries, meaning her intellect is quick, independent, impatient, energetic, and direct. She thinks fast and starts conversations with enthusiasm. She's likely to yell. You communicate and think in similar ways.
That's funny.
And then our Venus, that's the love sign. Venus
Oh,
determines how and what you love. It indicates how you express affection and the qualities you're attracted to. My Venus is in Gemini. That's the other thing too. I have a lot of Gemini in my chart.
hmm.
My Venus is in Gemini, meaning my romantic side is dynamic, curious, and easily bored. That is so fucking accurate. You love witty banter, but you may have trouble deepening your relationships. You tend to be a bit timid and discreet with your crushes because you don't know how to be forthright. Julia's Venus is in Aries, meaning her romantic side is enthusiastic, impulsive, and direct. She falls in love quickly and out of love just as fast. She tends to be forthright and direct with her crushes, even if they haven't confessed. They make a lot of inside jokes, touch them a lot, and maintain eye contact. They alternate between seeming demanding and disinterested in the relationship. Your ways of loving are very compatible.
Hmm.
And then
Sound.
lastly, Mars. This is the one that I love. Mars is the planet of aggression. It determines how you assert yourself, take action, and the energy that surrounds you, particularly in your sex life, your ambitiousness, and when you're angry. My Mars is in Aries, meaning I assert myself in a way that is to the point and impulsive. I love to make things happen and I push things forward with energy and enthusiasm. I have a short temper, but I'm quick to forgive. The bravest sign of the zodiac.
Oh.
Julia's Mars is in Virgo, meaning they assert themselves in a way that is precise and they push things forward with diligence, intention, and hard work. You're rarely willing to go out on a limb. Your tendency to be intentional and analytical means you need to know that the situation is right before you act. Your senses of passion are a bit mismatched, but with a bit of work can be wonderful.
Huh. I would highly recommend anyone
Love
check
that.
the full chart because I think it adds up more when you know your full chart.
Definitely. It gives you so much more. And like I'm not really into like zodiac stuff and like as far as like, oh what or like what's my daily horoscope?
Oh no, no,
You
no.
know, and I think that's the thing too. Like a lot of people are familiar with like horoscopes. You would just read like in a magazine, like, oh, what's my horoscope for this month?
Right.
A lot of the
That's
times people would just make that shit up. Like it's not even based on anything. It's just total bullshit. But if you actually like look into your full chart and you read about yourself, I find that so interesting because you just really get a deeper understanding of yourself and it's interesting.
I think some things I really like make a lot of sense, and other things I'm like, ah, not quite. But I also you have to look at the whole picture, like your life and your family life and how you were raised and stuff like that. Like personality doesn't only come from zodiac, but I think it adds. It all
Yeah,
adds like
very
big.
true. I
I
think mine is 100% spot on.
yeah, a lot of mine is.
All right. Well, I'm running out of daylight here.
Oh,
So
me too. I'm sure you could just see it just disappear. But this was fun.
I know. I love this. I love a good light-hearted episode.
Too. I love to talk astrology, so
Me too. Make sure you guys are following us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a comment and let us know what you want us to talk about in a future episode.
yes, please do. We will TTYL.
Yes, we'll see you guys next Friday with a new episode. Bye.